Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. I am coming back with a vengeance, and I'm coming at you with a real and raw postpartum, everything about my second postpartum experience. So I have some talking points that I thought about, and then I also asked you guys, or you ladies on my Instagram, any like raw and real questions that you may have, and I'm just gonna spill the beans, okay? Maybe you are not a mom and you're wondering what postpartum is really like. Maybe you're already a mom and you're wondering what your second postpartum experience will be like, whatever it is. Okay, I'm here, I'm an open book, and let's just dive right in where nothing is off the table, basically. My second postpartum experience has been very different than my first experience. Let's just put that out there. I have had a very different experience this time around, in a good way. So if you are terrified about your experience, don't be. Although I will have to say everyone is different, and every baby is different, every recovery is different, every postpartum experience is different, every labor is different, and you just never really know what it's gonna be like until it happens to you. But I will put it out there that I had a really wonderful experience. So if you are nervous about it, it's possible, I promise. It's still hard. There's still definitely very, very, very hard moments about this postpartum life. It's really a journey, and it's a roller coaster, no matter how good it is. And that's that. So let's just dive right in. Postpartum recovery, what was it like with baby number 2? Was it easier or better? My labor was so much better this time around. If you did watch my labor vlog, either with like the most recent one or the one with Grayson, my water broke with Grayson, and then I got an epidural when I was only 1 centimeter, and they actually were the same amount of time. And with Leo, I went into the hospital, I was already over 4 centimeters dilated, but the labor was just easier. I hemorrhaged the first time, my placenta was stuck to me. This time I did not tear at all. I had like a tiny tear the first time. I literally laughed him out of my vagina. I'm not kidding you. I literally laughed and then helped me get him out. Even like the midwife was like, I don't know if you want to put this on camera, but your vagina looks great. And I was like, awesome. I was like, baby, did you hear that? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. The first 4 months this time around was so much easier. I will have to say though, going from 1 to 2 was easier for me, but Grayson was in school for 5 days. In a couple months before Leo was born, we decided to put him in his school for 5 days instead of 3. He had only been going in for 3, and that was the best decision ever. If you can put your older kid in school, Grayson had already been in school 3 days a week, so it wasn't that big of a change, and that was probably the biggest thing, because then I could take a nap throughout the day if I needed to. I had like this weird strength, whereas I remember napping all the time with Grayson. I napped all the time. I just remember being so much more emotional the last time. I was emotional like the first 2 days because I was like, oh my God, did I ruin Grayson's life? And there has definitely been hard moments with Grayson. Like, you know, when he's home on the weekends, when Leo was younger and I didn't get the sleep thing down. All my issues revolved around Leo's sleep, because once he hit 4 months, rough. And I'll talk about that too. We decided to sleep train. Very different experience than with Grayson. We never sleep trained him because he took a bottle and he took a pacifier. Leo didn't take a bottle and he didn't take a pacifier up until literally recently, 6 months old, 5.5 months old, whatever it is. Of course, he's waking up right now. I love this. And someone said, does sex ever feel good again? Honestly, for me, sex has been better after having kids. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it has been better. Although I do have pain sometimes, and I am going to see a pelvic floor PT, I think in like a couple weeks. Anyway, yes, I ripped less. My labor was easier, my recovery was easier, my mental state was better. Everything was just better and easier. I feel like I recovered faster. I do think that I had more knowledge of prenatal fitness and activating TVA and labor prep. Obviously that's my job, and I teach you guys that in my fitness program on Hera, and that helped my labor and that helped my recovery. That is why I preach it and I try to teach it so that I can help your recovery. I started postpartum rehab, core and pelvic floor rehab on day 2. I started with breathing literally the second day I got home, started those pelvic floor movements, those gentle core and pelvic floor movements right away. And I feel like I healed so much faster than with Grayson, because with Grayson, I didn't do anything but walk for the first 6 weeks, and then I jumped right back into heavy weight training. Whereas this time I went so slow and my body responded so much better. If you're thinking that you want to just jump back into things, please, please, please join my program. I teach you everything you need to know in terms of rehab, recovery, core and pelvic floor. Obviously see a pelvic floor PT if you can, but labor prep and just learning or just knowing what to do in terms of labor prep and how to push properly. You shouldn't do purple pushing. You should use that TVA and keep that pelvic floor open. You should be practicing that week 34, week 35. So all of that comes into play. A lot of pelvic floor questions, I have all of that in my program. So you really just want to focus on reconnecting first and foremost. Just proper breathing and reconnecting to that core and pelvic floor is the first step. And then you can focus on those gentle movements, and even before you start weight training. So those first 6 weeks are when you should be focusing on those core and pelvic floor movements. Once Leo hit 3.5 to 4 months, 4-month regression, and he literally was sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night in the swaddle, and this was when we transitioned out of the swaddle. So developmental, leap, swaddle, and 4-month regression, all this stuff happened. We were bed sharing every single night. I started him off in his bassinet or crib. He would only sleep for 2 to 3 hours, and then I would bed share him and he would be on my boob all night long. And then every single nap was on me, and only 30 to 40 minutes. I'm not kidding you guys, this was the hardest part of postpartum. I was losing my damn mind. I was having mental breakdowns, and then we all caught the C word all in between this time. And I'm like, I need to hire a sleep consultant. I couldn't. He would not take a binky. He would not take a bottle. I didn't know if my milk supply was low. It was so stressful. Like, this was weeks. I was crying. Every single day. He was so overtired. I couldn't get him to sleep. Like, every time it was time for him to go to sleep, I was dreading it. I knew I could not live like that forever. And so we sleep trained, and it was the most life-changing experience. He didn't cry for more than 20 minutes. He did have to cry. She was amazing. She's For the Love of Sleep on Instagram, and we texted for 3 days straight. She gave me an exact schedule to follow, exact wake times, and it was life-changing. And now he puts himself to sleep for every nap. He puts himself to sleep for bedtime. He's been waking up once in the night. There was a period after sleep training where he was waking up every 3 hours, and I figured my supply was low. This time around, I was so devastated the first time around. I'm like, you know what, who cares? Like, I'm gonna try to breastfeed as much as possible. I am increasing my supply, which is awesome, but it feels so nice to be able to be like, if I have to give him some formula, I do, and it's fine. We got the hip version from the UK or Germany or whatever. Same thing we did with Grayson, and I'm still breastfeeding as much as possible, but if I have to top him off with some formula, or if I give him a bottle of formula before bed, it's been great. And he's back to sleeping pretty great, waking usually only once in the night, and nothing's perfect, but that was the most life-changing thing that we did ever. So a lot of people said, like, what's the hardest thing from going from 1 to 2 kids, and like that transition? It was pretty easy. I mean, obviously the hardest thing was trying to find time for Grayson, in terms of, like, we didn't have alone time a lot. You know, it was either like me, him, and Leo. And so I tried to have some times where it was just me and him, because he was spending so much time with Matt, which is amazing, but he went from spending literally 95% of his time with me to, like, you know, half that. So that was hard, but we're just getting the hang of it now, and it's just so much better, and it's so much fun, and I just feel like it's getting so much better as time goes on, and I'm ready for another baby, right? I know I want a third kid. I know I want a third one. I think that we need a bigger house first. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that we need a bigger house first. But basically, all the people saying that they're nervous for baby number 2, just don't be. It's so worth it. There are hard moments. The biggest thing I would say is remember that your oldest is going through such a hard time. So if they're acting out, put yourself in their shoes and just realize that their whole world turns upside down, because they're gonna they want attention. You know, there was times where I had to forget about the dishes and spend time with Grayson, because I'm like, if he's acting out, and it's because he needs attention. It's because that his whole life changed. So keep that in mind. He's sleeping. He's so funny. He just wakes up and he just stares in the camera because he knows I'm there. So breastfeeding this time around had been so much easier. As you guys know, I did get my implants taken out. I'm not kidding you, I got mastitis like every other week with Grayson. I don't know if that was the implants or what, but I only had mastitis one time this time. That was literally on my birthday. I had to get antibiotics, but other than that, like, my supply has been so much better. Even though I'm struggling with supply, I think it was just because we sleep trained. It was immediately after we sleep trained, so I stopped breastfeeding him as much, and the supply dipped. But other than that, the experience has been easier. Like, he latches better, and the only bottle he finally took after 6 months was the MAM bottle, and now he takes the Wubba pacifier too. Just only usually when he goes to sleep and stuff. And then a lot of people with pelvic floor. So yes, see a pelvic floor PT, but then also do some gentle rehab and then focus on strengthening. Even if you have diastasis, what you have to do is focusing on strengthening. And then the pelvic floor strengthening and relaxing. So both, because a lot of people hold a lot of tension in their pelvic floor, whether you realize it or not. But you definitely need to go see a pelvic floor PT if you can. Oh, and I got Leo on a schedule pretty much right away. I did the Taking Care of Babies newborn course, and that helped me so much. And then it's always changing. Now he's on 3 naps, or 2 naps and a cat nap, but it's still pretty much 3 naps. His wake times are around 2 hours now, which is great. I just feel like life gets so much easier once they hit 6 months. I don't care what anyone says. The newborn stage, the first 6 months are the hardest. Grayson's age right now, almost 4, is so fun. I'm not kidding you, it's so fun. We can like stay up late if we want to. He doesn't have to take a nap. We can, like, it's so much fun. I love it, I love it. But I'm also excited for like the 6 month to 2 year stage. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. Being a mom is amazing. It is so hard, but it is so freaking fun. I mean, I've always felt like I meant to be a mom, so I love it. Leo was waking up every 3 hours, like I said, at night, and he wasn't napping well. And I thought that was weird because he had just been sleep trained and he was sleeping great. And he wasn't gaining weight. So that was the biggest thing, is he was like barely gaining weight. We did like 2 weight checks, and the doctor was like, yeah, he's not really gaining. So I think you need to supplement. And once I started supplementing, he started gaining weight again. I just had a mother's intuition, and I was just like, I think my supply is low. I emailed my doctor, I emailed the lactation consultant, they having to come in for weight checks. They're like, yeah, he's not gaining as much as he should. And that was that. So yeah, and then like, how does your vagina look? How does blah, blah, blah? Did you fear not bouncing back into fitness? Weight gain differences? Any other differences between pregnancies? A few different things. First day after body-wise, first poop, does peeing hurt? Okay, so in terms of body, I felt great the second time around. I pooped literally the second I got home from the hospital, and I was totally fine. So for me, it didn't hurt at all, but I also didn't tear. Obviously, if you have like a 3rd degree tear or something, it might be different, but I was fine. I think I took like 1 stool softener. Like, I don't even know if I took a stool softener. I felt great. In terms of my pregnancies, I definitely think this pregnancy was easier. I gained a little bit less weight. I definitely gained in different rates. Like the first trimester, I didn't gain at all, and then I had a huge jump, and then it kind of stalled out, and then I gained a little bit more. And that's super normal, like super normal. Just gain a healthy amount of weight, listen to your body. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And the biggest thing for me was the TVA activation, the core, the pelvic floor, the fitness, like all of my knowledge for labor prep and postpartum recovery was the biggest thing, which is why I have my fitness program, Wanhera. And I have all the information in there because that, in my opinion, was the biggest thing for me. Afterwards, I was not even worried about how my body looked because I knew that I needed to focus on recovery and everything would just take care of itself. So, you know, I was trying to eat so much food, but you're busy, you know, you run around. There's some days where I didn't eat that much. I do not count calories. I listen to my body. And that's the biggest thing. And in terms of like fitness, you know, milk supply comes first, recovery and rest comes first, your baby comes first, and then you focus on that recovery and then that slow return to fitness, and it'll happen over time. You know, especially before that you can start working out, don't even worry about it. Like, don't even think about your body. Your body's fine. I was never worried. I had done it before. I knew I could do it again. And I know anyone watching, you can do anything that you're mind, no matter how long it takes. And I do recommend going slower than you think. So as eager as you might be to be like jumping back into it and going balls to the walls, that can lead to more dysfunction later on. So focus on fueling your body, keeping your milk supply up, establishing that supply, getting your rest, and also eating enough calories after going through a major, you know, birth or surgery or labor, whatever it is, that actually helps you recover faster. So when you get like a major surgery, they recommend, yes, eat at maintenance calories a day. I recommend eat at least at maintenance calories. So do not worry about that. It'll come in due time. It might take long, you know, it took 9 months to go through pregnancy. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. I can definitely go into, I wanna do a fitness, postpartum fitness video, talking about my bodily changes, how I did it, things like that, what you can expect maybe in my fitness program or my postpartum program. But I feel like that's the basics of this postpartum, everything you wanna know, and in terms of my experience. So again, everyone's experience is totally different, but for me, it was so much better this time around. My pregnancy was better, my labor was better, my recovery was better. Going from 1 to 2 was so much easier emotionally and physically for me than 0 to 1. The sleep thing and Leo has been harder though. So I have to say that, like I said, you know, I had to bed share. He was napping on me. He wouldn't take a binky. He wouldn't take a bottle. That was really, really hard. That was the hardest part. But other than that, like, dude, it was great. Like, I'm excited to do it again. First 6 months are the hardest, and those postpartum night sweats in the beginning, whew, that was big. It's still hard because there's so much you have to do, and there's just so much learning, and this is dying. Okay, love you guys. Thank you for watching. If this is still going.